Our first presentation this afternoon focuses on the decision to modify your home or to move. Jeffrey Kerr is a broker with Remax Unique Incorporated. He focuses on barrier-free real estate, and he's going to talk to us today about modify or move. Please help me welcome Jeffrey Kerr.
That was actually my fault. That's feedback. I went to turn my mic on a little too early.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't want people thinking that was your oops.
Nothing's ever been my fault.
Yeah, it's okay. So let me start by asking: are there any Toronto Maple Leaf fans in the room? Yeah. Come on, a little louder. You're a Leaf fan? Yeah. So I was at the March of Dimes event in Ottawa last week, and I started out by saying, who here is a Senators fan in the room? And about 3/4 of the room put their hand up. I paused and I said, well, I'm from Toronto. And I tell you, nothing ingratiates yourself to a crowd in Ottawa, Senators fans, like saying, hey, you're from Toronto. So anyways, I really warmed up the crowd there. But that's okay, I gotta have fun with it.
Well, we know what the better team is.
Exactly. So, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how did you get involved in barrier-free real estate? So, I thought I would sort of start by telling you my story, the logistics of that. I'm going to tell you the story of my Aunt Jean. Oh, and there she is up on the screen. So Aunt Jean, and this picture was taken in 2006, and it's really easy for me to remember because she's holding my youngest daughter, Sarah. And then Katie is the one holding Dory. If there's any Finding Nemo fans in the room? My daughter is a huge Dory fan. And then that's my son, Sam, smiling in the front. And then beside Sam is a picture of my Uncle Sam. It was back probably in the late 90s that my aunt and uncle went into a sales office, a pre-construction condo sales office, and they purchased what was to be a wheelchair accessible condo. My aunt has MS. She was in a wheelchair my whole life. So they were really excited about buying this condo. But fast forward a few years, there was a lot of construction delays, and by the time the condo was ready for occupancy, my uncle had passed on, and I was with Aunt Jean as she rolled through the front door of that condo, and she realized very quickly that condo, she couldn't live there independently. And so she handed me the keys and said, Jeff, you have to sell this condo. Okay. So it was through selling that condo, I started networking and asking questions, and I realized that there was no one in the Greater Toronto area that was focusing on accessible properties. So for those of you who can sort of see this picture, it's a little small, but this is the kitchen that was in the condo, and I'm sure most of you are probably cringing when you look at that picture of that kitchen. It's not an ideal kitchen. It was not well designed. The bathroom was okay. It was institutional, but it had a nice large roll-in shower, a lot of space to maneuver around, and it had a roll-out balcony. But it really came down to that kitchen. I don't know how you work with that kitchen, but I know my Aunt Jean couldn't. So through networking and asking a lot of questions, I ended up in the office of Kevin Rogers at what was the Canadian Paraplegic Association at the time. And he offered me a lot of advice. But when I told him that I came from a construction background, that I was building houses before I got into real estate, so I understand a lot about housing and construction. And he really encouraged me to focus on this, to learn, because his membership really needed someone who could help them. So it was actually through selling that condo that I started my journey to become the go-to person for accessible properties in the Greater Toronto area. I think we'll go to the next slide here. I've actually written a book on it. It's called Barrier-Free Real Estate, Achieving Freedom at Home. And I wrote that book for all of you in the room who find themselves in need of an accessible home. But I also wrote it for people who are helping others, who need to understand what an accessible home is, what's out there, and what can be done with the house. So it's really a resource. I'm also a regular contributor to Spinal Cord Injury Ontario's Outspoken magazine. And these are some of the articles that I've written. And Arlene from CMHC will be talking about visitability and co-housing in the next presentation. But this article here, Need a Lift. If you can believe, this is an elevator. And if any of you are familiar with a central vacuum, it works on the same premise. It's a vacuum assist elevator. So you roll it in or you walk in, and it sucks you up. And then when you want to come down, no, I have accompanied my client in a 350-pound power wheelchair in that elevator. So oh no, it's got the capabilities of a strong elevator. So, but kind of cool looking though, isn't it? Like it's next slide. So the title of my presentation today is Modify or Move. And that's really the key question when I get called. Should I modify my home, or does it make more sense to move? And that's what I help my clients determine. So I'm going to share with you some of the information that I use when I'm talking to my clients. But first, I want to look at the big picture. And Dawn talked about this earlier. Aging in place is the future. You know, with the population increasing, with the cost of long-term care, more and more people will be choosing to age in place. But in order for people to successfully age in place, they need a modified home. They need an accessible home. But it's really more than just older adults that could benefit from an accessible home. It's certainly a parent pushing a stroller would appreciate a level entrance. An older adult going up to the second floor would appreciate an elevator or some type of assistive device. I usually get called when a parent is having trouble carrying their child up the stairs. That seems to be the tipping point with parents who have a child with a disability. It's easier for them when they can carry their child all around. But when that child gets a little too heavy to carry up the stairs and their back starts to hurt, that's when I get the call to say, okay, we need to make some decisions here. I think it's safe to say that everyone, regardless of age or mobility, will appreciate an accessible home. I'm traveling around the province this fall, speaking to other realtors about home ownership and people with disabilities. And so, I'm speaking to all of you in this room. You all understand accessibility. You get it. But when I'm talking to realtors, sometimes when they're listening to me, that's the first time that they've sort of really thought about it or they've been presented with it. So I try to paint a picture that they understand. And one of the questions I like to ask is, whose house for the holidays? Because if you think, we just had Thanksgiving that just passed, and when you look back to other family gatherings, for many of you in this room, but also when I'm speaking to a room full of realtors, those family gatherings happen in a place, in a home, that's accessible to accommodate a loved one. And so I really like that. Whose house for the holidays? So it brings it home to everybody, because at some point, someone is going to be at a family gathering that's at a location to accommodate a loved one or someone with a mobility challenge. So before you modify or move, here are some things to think about. What are your needs or your family's needs now? What about 5 years? What about in 10 years? You really have to assess what your needs are on a long-term basis. You've got immediate needs, but you've also got longer-term needs. When I was using that example about children, kids grow. So parents need to think about their needs of their child at various stages as they get bigger. If I could leave you with one take-home message today, it's to plan ahead. I always encourage my clients to plan ahead. It's so much easier to make decisions now, to be proactive, than it is to be reactive. Another thing to consider: have you talked to your family doctor or doctors, an occupational therapist? What is your financial situation? You've got to do an audit of your family's needs, but also your financial capabilities. In a couple minutes, I'm going to show you a slide that tells a story about a young gentleman that I met that came up with a really, really creative way to finance a home modification. Is your current home suitable to modify? That's one of the big questions. Because not every house is suitable. You take a split level or a back split house that's on multiple levels. Those aren't ideal to modify. It can be done, but it's not ideal. And not all condos are created equal. When you're looking at condominium, you've got to look at the common spaces, the common areas, as much as your own unit. I ran into a situation where I found the ideal condo for a client to move into. The bathroom was big enough. It had a great turning radius. The client needed to transfer on the right side of the toilet. Check mark. Needed a roll-in shower. So there was a tub, but there was an ideal spot to take that tub out and make it into a roll-in shower. The bathroom was ideal. She could even get out onto the balcony. The condo board didn't understand or were unwilling to learn about accessibility. So we made an application to the condo board, and they made that client put so many rules, so many conditions on that application that the client said, no, I can't do it. So that client ended up backing out of the deal. So when you're looking at condominiums, there's so much to look at. You've got to look at the common areas, you've got to look at the unit, but you've also got to gauge the willingness of the condo board to allow you to make necessary modifications. And I know that's a bigger story about the condo board, but that client decided she wasn't going to fight that fight. So I like to call this slide tips for finding the perfect house or condo to renovate or accessibility. I call that my chapter 5, because that's chapter 5 in my book. Location, location, location. Most of you have heard that term when you refer to real estate. I changed that around to plan ahead, plan ahead, plan ahead. I sort of liken it to a chess match. Most professional chess players are always thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. And that's what I encourage my clients to do. Always be thinking ahead. What is my next move? What can I do? How can I make the changes if I need to? What happens if you're not able to drive any longer? For those of you that drive, in this room, if you think about if you're suddenly not able to drive yourself, that changes things dramatically. Is the community that you're living in, is that community, will that continue to be accessible? Or do you rely on your vehicle to get you where you need to go? So that's what you've got to think about that. What about, make a list of your priorities. Is the library a priority? Your local transit? Groceries? Medical? The church? Like, what's important? So when you're looking at communities, if you're looking to move, you've got to look at the community itself as much as you have to look at the space. Buying a home with more space that you can grow into is a lot more cost effective than buying a property that you have to add on. So if you can work within the existing space, that's going to be more cost effective than an addition. Land value. We're in Toronto. Land value is pretty high. So if you're looking at bungalows, they're probably on a larger size lot. So the value of that property will be increased because of the land value. So it may be more cost effective to look at a 2-story home and putting in an elevator than it is to buy a bungalow on a large parcel of land. Going back to condominiums, you've got to look at the underground parking garage. Can you access the fob or the proximity card to get into the parking garage? Not everyone can reach their hand out of the car window to swipe a card. So is there a button that you can push in your vehicle to open up the garage door? Carpeting in the hallways. Simple thing, but some carpets, thicker carpets, create friction. It makes it more difficult to roll wheels. And ladder trucks for the fire department only go up as high as 7 stories. So you've got to look at that as well. But now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the future trend in real estate. I've been very involved since January with Daniels Corporation, and they approached me because they wanted to create accessible condominiums at 2 of their upcoming projects, and Dawn touched upon it this morning. Arlene will touch upon it next. So their Toronto project and their Mississauga project, they've incorporated accessible suites into their condominiums, like fully accessible suites. Rough-in for a power door operator, alternative kitchens, where they've taken the counter heights from 36 down to 34 inches, with space underneath the counters for knee clearance. Accessible bathrooms, so most with pocket doors, but with roll-in showers. And the big thing in condominiums is roll-out balconies. Most balconies have a big threshold that you have to get up and over. No, not these ones. These are roll-out balconies. So these are great spaces. And they're pre-construction, so they're not going to be ready for 3 years. But it's great that a corporation like Daniels is recognizing the need and the opportunities. Their program, which they just recently announced, Accessibility Design, and that's the logo. And on the screens here, I have a picture of what their concept bathroom and their kitchens look like. And on the far side is Natalie and Tim and their dog Rush. They were one of my buyers. And this story was so exciting that the Globe and Mail actually picked up on it in the real estate section last Friday. So you can read about it in the Globe and Mail. And I love this story. This is Sandra and Tracy. They're sisters. They wanted to live in the same building on the same floor. And I was able to make that happen for them. So they bought 2 units so they could be close to each other. And when I talked about whose house for the holidays, holiday gatherings in their family just got that much better because they're going to be on the same floor. So the next I have a video that I like to show. It's a Daniels video, but it's a virtual roll-through of one of their suites. And there's an avatar that rolls through, and anyways, I'll let the video speak for itself.
Introducing the Daniels Accessibility Design Program. Daniels Accessibility Design Suites provide 34-inch wide interior doorways to accommodate a variety of mobility devices. The ensuite bathroom is designed with a porcelain tiled rolling shower, a folding shower seat, a handheld faucet, and grab bars. The bathroom sink has adequate knee clearance for easier access to the faucet. In the kitchen, lowered countertops and under-sink knee clearance are also provided. Standard appliances include a side-opening wall oven with a convenient pull-out counter below, as well as a drawer dishwasher. Finally, a swing door with a low threshold allows for easy access to the balcony. Daniels Accessibility Design Suites. Designing possibilities, removing barriers.
I love that video. I think it's a good visual on what those units will be like and the possibilities. And now that Daniels has embraced this, they're actually going to be including accessible suites in all of their upcoming projects. This will create a ripple effect, I think, across major cities across Canada. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of this going forward. So if you remember, I talked to you about a young gentleman who had a creative solution to funding a home modification. This is Mitchell Stark. And you can Google him, Mitchell Stark, CBC. He crowdfunded $30,000 to pay for a home modification in his parents' home. What a great idea. So he took the initiative. He knew his parents would struggle, I guess, or to modify for his needs. So he took it upon himself to raise that money. And then he didn't tell them that CBC was coming to the door to interview him until the morning of. And he's like, oh, I think there's a reporter coming to interview me. So, anyways, surprise. So, I just wanted to share with you, I guess, just a couple quick slides. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time because I don't remember when I started. But, so, I thought I would just roll through some pictures of some properties that I've dealt with. And just point out some really great features, because technology has come so far that you really can do a lot with the house. This chopping block table actually raises and lowers. So if you like to do food preparation at a seated position, you can. Or if you prefer to do it at a standing position, it rises up above the counter height, so you can stand to do food preparation. The pantry cupboards beside the fridge pull out, and then the whole shelves swivel, so you don't have to reach back to get that spice in the back of the cupboard. No, it just swivels. You pick it up, swivel it back, and put it back into place. So lots of little features. This bathroom, the towel that's hanging beside the toilet, that's a grab bar. So grab bars don't have to look institutional, they can look decorative. That faucet, Gary from American Standard was talking about these type of faucets earlier on. Like, they're automatic faucets, so you don't have to change any levers. This is a glass elevator. For people maybe who are, not comfortable in confined spaces, glass elevator could help. I love this bathroom. It looks like a traditional bathroom. That soap dish in the bathtub, again, another decorative grab bar. But what really caught me about this bathroom is the builder mixed some special glow-in-the-dark powder with the tile grout. So at night, it glows. So it's like a little nightlight. So the grout lines on the floor and behind the backsplash, it glows. Who would have thought of that? So this is, and this you can't. This I realize this is small floor plan, but this is an example of someone who needed to make a move into a property that could be made accessible. So they took. Let's see if I can use my finger here. So they took what was a big walk-in pantry and they created an ensuite bathroom with a roll-in shower. So it's just sometimes you've just got to be creative in finding a space that fits your needs. And this space it fit the client's needs. So this is a property in Scarborough that had a telecab, a ramp, a landscape ramp going up to the front door, and then a porch lift at the back, and a roll-in shower in the basement. So, sometimes simple modifications can mean all the difference. This is a condominium that was purpose-built. The original owner contracted directly with the builder to create the roll-in shower and then the custom kitchen. And again, great space. The countertops were lowered, and the doors below the sink can open up and then be pushed back underneath, so you have under sink clearance. So, lots of properties that I've worked with over the years, and I love sharing pictures. And if any of you have questions or just need a sounding block, I'm happy to be a resource for all of you in the room to help you out. So I think that pretty much sums up my presentation. So I thank you very much. I'm glad that there's some Leaf fans in the room. And I'm around all day. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. So thank you.